Welcome to Countdown to Infinity, a Marvel's Avengers podcast. We talk all things Marvel's Cinematic Universe, and here we are at the conclusion of another Disney Plus series, the final episode of Secret Invasion, titled Home, A New World.
Episode 6.
A lot of things wrapped up, and a new world and some new important characters and developments in the MCU. All of these endings always have something like kind of wild that makes you look forward to what's next, whether or not we're going to see it in another season of Secret Invasion or not. Who knows?
It'll happen eventually.
But here we are, another finale. My name is Manuel.
My name is Sophia.
What a ride, huh?
Sure.
We have been up, we've been down with this show.
We've been the same.
We've been the same. We've binged the first couple eps all at once. Then we were all caught up and we're watching them as they released. What a show. Well, I guess before we get into some of the details, what did you think about Secret Invasion?
As a whole?
Yeah. Now that you've seen the ending. And we'll talk, again, everyone, we're going to talk about the ending. We'll talk about the Super Skrulls. We'll talk about what's going on with Fury and how the world is. But what did you think of the show in general?
I liked episode 5 and 6.
Okay.
Everything else I was very much like, okay.
Yeah.
A lot of dialogue, not a lot. Like, it was really hard, even though these were really short eps compared to like other things that we've seen from Disney. I feel like I've said this before. Like, I just felt like there was not a lot to look forward to. Like, I was excited for other series, and then this one I was actually really excited for. They had so much potential, and then I don't know. It just fell flat for me. Yeah, I said what I said. I'm sticking to it.
I think you're right. A lot of the other shows sort of, I don't know, felt, well, not all of them either. I'll say that. A lot of the good stuff from the Disney Plus series have all been there's like this engine that's driving the story forward. You know, there's good cliffhangers, there's loose ends. I mean, WandaVision, which was the first show, which it's been years now, but you're looking forward to it every single week.
Honestly, we have to stop comparing things to WandaVision.
I know.
Like,
the first one.
It's really hard not to, but it's just in its own little beautiful story. Like, there was so much emotion and like love that went into that show. Like, you can tell that this as in Secret Invasion is just to tie things together and kind of keep the tiny momentum that they had introducing the characters of the Skrulls because of the comic books from Captain Marvel, like tying that and trying to expand on it, which I get because
while keeping a lot of it secret.
Yes, and I understand because Disney is like a powerhouse and they want to capitalize on everything that they're showing us and like expand on and try to get new audience, and especially with the streaming now, and you know, things are changing, but this wasn't it.
We'll talk about why we think it was a very, I would say, kind of blasé type of show later on, but I think I kind of agree. There's just a lot of this that relies on you knowing a lot about geopolitics. Yeah. In a very intimate way, I'll say that. It's sort of kind of they try, I think, really hard the entire season to make it really poignant and make it more relevant to stuff that's happening now. I mean, Russia and Ukraine are mentioned in the show. Nonstop. There's sort of this interesting thing about how the Skrulls are afraid how they're going to be treated once they're found out.
Right.
And it seems like maybe their fears were realized with the way the president treats Skrulls. Like, it's so, at the end of this, so it's kind of this conspiracy theory that is supposed to be so that people feel like Skrulls are just down on their luck, but then you're like, okay, but the conspiracy theory is actually true. Right. So like, for you to be like, well, these outside aliens are evil, but maybe no, we should open our hearts and our homes. But there actually are evil is kind of a weird thing to me. Does that make sense? Like, it's not like it's not like an incorrect fear. No. It seems like if you were suspicious of Skrulls, you should have been, because they're bad. Most of them are bad.
I was going to say, it also depends on the Skrull, right? Like, so in the eyes of whoever the president was talking to, I mean, I guess now we're just jumping into the episode.
Yeah.
When he addresses like the whole nation or the whole world or whoever is listening, like of course he portrays them as like these evil like people that are hiding amongst or not people
that
but,
attacked
you know,
him and
right, like
tried
it's very
to overthrow
it's very personal because like that's his experience with it versus Fury, who like knows that those Skrulls exist, of course, but also knows that Skrulls like his wife and, you know,
it's
Gaia exists.
It's a cynical take, I think. It's dark and maybe it's
and
true.
I feel like
and
it's symbolism.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a reflection of our times now, but it's incredibly, I think, cynical to say that, well, it doesn't matter. It's still all going to end this way. But
bang,
yeah,
bang.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about more about how the world ends up. But this episode is a giant, I would say, one part heist, one part reveal, and then a big part CGI fight with some insane stuff when we're talking about Gaia and Super Skrulls.
Yeah.
But ultimately, we assume, at least for the beginning, that Nick Fury is handing the Harvest, which is a collection, a kind of honestly a very clean looking liquid for being the DNA of every single Avenger and superhero they've encountered.
It could definitely be mistaken as water
I know,
and
like, how
or vodka
dangerous.
and or tequila.
DNA, I know, is like super microscopic, not even visible.
Right.
But
so for him to have so much of it in that little vial is like,
so I'm
wow.
like, okay, that's cool. But he's handing it to Gravik with the promise that he is going to leave and go to another planet, which is a little naive. And originally I was like, okay, that's a little kind of wild to be like, I'll take your word for it. But really, it was a ploy.
Duh.
Because Fury is Gaia.
Yeah,
and
because of course.
Now we got 2 Super Skrulls. And I think that's a great place to kick off, because I think that's what everybody wanted from Secret Invasion, really.
The whole time.
Is the Super Skrull stuff. I mean, in the comic books, it really is about Skrulls stealing Avengers' powers.
Yeah.
Like even the Fantastic Four powers and fighting them and finding out how to gain an advantage. And here we finally have it happen.
Yeah.
There's a big Skrull fight. Gaia and Gravik, and I'm just going to go through some of the powers that we see.
Some of the names
we
that
see
flash.
some Thanos power, Ghost,
we do.
Captain America,
Captain
all
Marvel.
of the a lot of Captain Marvel, the Frost Beast, Korg,
The Hulk.
from the Thor world, a lot of the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yes.
I mean, almost all of them are represented. The Black Order, Abomination,
Yes.
Black Panther. We saw Hulk. We see Extremis, Valkyrie, Thor, and Winter Soldier.
Yep.
They basically, I mean, even alternate arms with what superhero power there are. And the director has said that this was kind of a Kevin Feige idea. In fact, that he even decided almost which characters were going to be represented in the powers. But it was really cool to see. But it was not received well by a lot of people.
No,
I think maybe it's a big jumble of CGI stuff. 8% on Rotten Tomatoes is the approval of this finale.
Yeah.
What'd you think about the Skrull fight?
I mean, I think it could have been way cooler than what it was.
Okay.
Like Marvel has unlimited, I mean, I guess it is limited budget right now.
Yeah.
But this was shot forever ago. So like they could have prepared something finale-esque. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like this.
Do you just think it was too quick, or what's
I mean, there's that, but then
cool?
Also, like, I wanted it to be so much cooler because it's a finale. This feels like it could have been just a regular ep, a cliffhanger ep. And I would have been like, oh my gosh, like, what's going to happen after or whatever. Like, it feels like a cliffhanger, not a finale for me. And, but again, like, this is what I was craving the whole series. So I think that's why I feel this way. And I mean, it was cool for sure. But like, I wanted this the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's
very cool though. Like, of course, I love seeing all of the names. I love the idea, and this like whole plan that Fury had with Gaia and with Sonya, like beautifully done. Of course,
exposing the Skrull that Rhodey was
so fucking cool. That's the Fury that I wanted the whole series because it's Nick fucking Fury. Like I expected this. From him from the jump. Like this is the
he's got tricks.
Yes, like and he is always one step ahead because he's so experienced and because like now I thought that his fuel this entire season was going to be the fact that people were calling him old. Like, he had gone through all this shit, and like he had disappeared for a second because of the blip, and then he was off of the planet, and like he was doing other things, and like whatever. Like, from the trailer, I was like, oh damn, like he's gonna come back and like whoop some ass, and like what we saw in this episode. But I wanted it the whole time.
Yeah, it's a big part, I think, of what people were expecting. Just like you said, was with the fact that there are Skrulls with powers, and we got glimpses of this.
Yeah.
I mean, Gravik had a little Groot going on. They did have some. We saw the Extremis stuff happening, but for the finale to kind of almost delve between two fights of two Super Skrulls.
Yeah.
Is kind of wild to have just that be, and I know the Sonya and the president calling off the raid, and you know the reveal of Fury being there instead of being with Gravik is a fun twist.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's like a two-pronged finale because you've got this bombing that's happening in Russia. And you got Gravik fighting Gaia. It seems just really, you could almost write down on a piece of paper that the last episode of every single Marvel show will be a fight between two.
Oh, for sure.
I mean,
Two
heavily
ultimate
CGI
of
ultimates of something.
Yeah.
And not only that, but that will maybe be where 80% of the budget went. Does that make it just feels that way? And I'm also kind of not concerned, but Gaia is she's more powerful than any other Avenger.
Yeah,
she's got it all.
If she has everything, for sure.
Captain Marvel is a lot of people will think Captain Marvel and Hulk are the two most powerful Avengers just in raw power. And Gaia's got both of them just in the bag. Kind of wild to assume.
Whenever she feels like turning it on, boom.
And that's why I thought it was going to be a stalemate thing, because Gravik also has them all. So I was like, well, they're just going to keep fighting and healing and fighting and healing.
And then he was so easily killed.
Yeah, I was like, oh no,
it happened in like 10 minutes, not even 5 minutes.
Put a giant hole through his stomach and it's done. And I was like, oh, okay, well, cool.
Yep.
Would you have liked a show where maybe he's like collecting each of the powers like one by one or something like that? Or
I mean, because then we got Thanos all over again. Yeah. With the stones.
Well, I mean, yeah, but I mean, like he's taking he's copying Avengers powers like each time he encounters some of their, an artifact or something. Because the comic books are sort of that way. Like they don't just get a harvest type thing and then they got it all. It's like Iron Man or it's like Mr. Fantastic encounters one Skrull that has his power and he's like, oh my god.
I think maybe that combined with the rest of the the Skrull population slowly trying to stop Gravik along with the government. So he would have his rebels, of course, like his people that are following him, his followers. And then they would have to be like secretly going around the world, going to where Fury put copies of his own like tombstones or something, right? Because we know that he did that in like these secret places where individuals' DNA is stored. Like maybe like they could have played it out that way, or I don't know. Like there's so many other things that could have been done, and I would have been like satisfied. I feel satisfied. Don't get me wrong. Like I don't want to like shit on this entire show, even though like I already have, but like. I do like this episode, and it's it's a great finale, but I felt like it didn't have to be a finale.
Yeah, there are definitely a lot of questions out there. Yeah. I think one of the stronger parts of the show is maybe Fury and Priscilla, his wife.
Oh my gosh.
And the fact that she has almost pined for him a little bit, but he's gone, and so she's like kind of has to move on, and it sort of is where a lot of the I would say that like the catharsis for Nick Fury and everything emotional about him comes from the Priscilla storyline, even more than the Talos. And I know Maria Hilk dies episode 1, but it is mostly
that's wild. Why?
It's about his ability and also the fact that Skrulls are a huge part of his history is kind of insane to me. But he's not only married to a Skrull, but he feels responsible to the entire Skrull population that's on Earth. And even at the end of this, he and Priscilla are going off to go find or at least try to create peace between the Kree and the Skrulls, which would mean they won't have to stay on Earth. But, again, more questions than answers because we also uncovered at the end that there's, millions of them everywhere.
Yes.
And there's a war between the two. So it is, there is a world, and maybe this is because they are hoping for a second season, that it is about the tension between the Skrulls and the human race, and maybe
Skrulls.
even the Kree and the Skrulls, figuring it out or something. But what did you think about Priscilla and that whole part of the show?
I think that's what created this whole personal experience this whole experience like personal for Fury. We also talked about this in a previous episode. Like that part of him, I was not expecting, and I'm really happy to have seen that because it makes all of this come into perspective for me.
We've never seen that from Fury.
No, never.
He's mysterious,
and like he usually is all about the business. Like it's never really like emotional for him, or he's like not it's just him doing his job. Because like that's what we've seen always, and so for him to have such an attachment to this species in general, like in general, because he's so in love with his wife, and like also he doesn't want to let anybody down, and he's been by their side. He was supposed to have been by their side. Let me rephrase, for years. And I think that was nice to see. That I'm satisfied with, like that whole part of it. But yeah, no, just the fight was just odd. I don't know. They didn't have to do Emilia Clarke like that.
I am excited that she's in the show.
I mean, of course.
And in the MCU.
She deserved more, though.
I think she's going to be a huge part, I think. I don't know. Like, it's kind of an origin story for her.
Like, what are they going to do with her?
Her dad, Talos, dies. Like,
there's a lot fueling for her, for sure. But, like...
And also the partnership between her and Sonia, Olivia Colman, who I think should have her... I mean, she's great. She's fantastic in everything she's in, but... The fact that
her I loved.
Sonia tells Gaia that, you're the de facto leader of the Skrulls. We're just going to do it a little differently now. Like, we're going to make sure that we take care of each other. Even if we're, fueling it through selfishness. It's not going to be the same relationship as your dad and I guess the leaders of the world. But I mean, where do you... So... I think this leads us to the thing that is maybe the most cynical part of the episode. The president addresses the nation and basically says there are aliens among us. We need to kill them all.
Yeah.
That's where the world is. So Skrulls, and then we discover there are millions of other humans that are being kept underground for the Skrulls to be...
It's like, guess what? There's more.
Out there. What do you think the repercussions of that are? And also, when do you think we'll ever see this again? Because this is the thing about Marvel. We may introduce all this. There's another movie coming out in November, and then another show in Loki, and we may never talk about Skrulls for a year or two. Does that make sense? And we'll just be like, well, it reminds me, and I think people are making fun of the fact that in Eternals, those... Have you seen Eternals yet?
Oh, how are you going to put me on blast?
Sorry,
like
the ending of Eternals, there's something that's almost unignorable that no one has ever addressed for every movie since then.
You can talk about it.
There's a celestial...
I promise I'm going to watch it eventually.
So, sorry for everyone who hasn't seen it.
Yes.
Mostly Sophia.
Yeah.
At the end of Eternals, there's a celestial the size of a continent that's frozen on Earth.
What?
Yeah, its hand is sticking out into the space. And we never address it ever in anything else. Like, it's there. Does that make sense? It's just sitting there.
Marvel, what the fuck?
So I don't know. What do you think that Skrulls mean they're on Earth?
I was about to say there's so much going on with the Avengers and like even just in other planets, universes, whatever have you, because like now we know how to jump from universe to universe.
So this exists in Eternals.
That's insane.
Yeah, and it's still there. But we don't really...
it's a wonder now. It's a man-made wonder of the world now.
We don't even fly by it.
Well, that just takes it to the extreme, doesn't it? Because that is legitimately just ridiculous.
Sitting there.
I can't even... Okay. Because we still got Loki. We still have there's just so much going on. I cannot see Rhodes going to the rest of the Avengers and be like, "Hey, y'all, guess what? We have a problem." You know what I mean? Like there's too much going on. And also like, what are we supposed to do with all of these millions of people? Well, I mean, we don't know how many, but like legitimate, like rows and rows and rows of other people being incubated and like taken over. Like we have to find all of their identity. Realistically, I think that it would change everything for society in the MCU, because it would end up like how it was in that little flash of like, oh, now people are killing people at random and innocent lives are being taken, because like you can't trust anybody.
That was hardcore.
How are you supposed to know who's a Skrull and who's not?
Vigilantes trying to kill Skrulls who are accidentally killing humans in the world. It kind of is happening.
Because it's true. Like, how are you supposed to keep track, and how are you supposed to know? Unless for some reason like Banner or like Captain Marvel, Fury, or whoever has like this detector that you can just scan someone and be like, oh no, you're good.
Do you know what I think is actually going to happen?
Tell me.
Especially because of the response of this show. I feel like
never again.
Well, yeah. Well, here's the thing. Marvel, I think, kept this as a feeler to be like, okay, if it works really well and everyone loves it, season 2.
Which they don't.
You know, they did that with WandaVision. They're like, cool, we found Agatha. People liked it. Let's do a show.
Yeah.
I think they're going to see that this didn't get the response it wanted, and they're going to be like, oh, so Fury actually made that deal and all the Skrulls left. Does that make sense? It's just going to be that. It's going to be clean.
Fury comes back. Fury comes back in a movie.
Yeah, and he's going to be like, oh, man, I just finished taking all the Skrulls off the planet.
So he'd be like, do you guys remember 3 years ago when I left?
And then we're all just going to be like, okay, cool, there's no more Skrulls left. Because I feel like they can do that, first of all, but it's not like they need to, even though in our heads we're like, this is crazy. I mean, do you still remember the Flag Smashers from Captain America Falcon and the Winter Soldier?
Yes,
they are around. We don't know. I mean, there's so many examples of this.
There's so many things happening.
And there's a different president. Like in a movie, it's Harrison Ford in the next Marvel movie. So,
perfect.
You know, something happens with this president. Yeah, I don't know. It's I really like Skrulls. They're a huge part of the comic books. They're one of the more, and there's something inherently suspenseful about face swaps.
Yeah, of course, because you don't know who to trust. Like that feeling of like uncertainty, honestly, anxiety, and like just like questioning everything around you. Like that is so cool. Like you can like not like in real life, but like that has so much potential in movies or in these shows, and I feel like whoever was in that meeting really fumbled the ball and like made these calls the way that they did.
Do you think that there's going to be I mean, this show cost $200 something million, more than the budget for Oppenheimer and Barbie combined.
No.
Yeah. That's how much the show cost. So it costs a lot.
Goodness.
What do you think I mean, Loki's coming out soon, but Loki again is like kind of a different thing and you know, they're doing their own thing. But what do you think this show needed? Because not only was this the Nick Fury show, even though it was kind of mostly like, it seemed like a Gaia show or a Talos show, you know, or whatever. But it was also kind of told to us that it was going to be the darker show, kind of the more adult one, and like a spy thriller.
Yeah, no, it's not.
And what do you think it needed? Like, do you think it needed to be a lot darker, or do you think it just needed to have longer storylines, or maybe some more?
I don't think,
because I feel like it moved really quickly. Does that make sense? Like,
I do not feel that way.
Oh, really?
I feel like the first few eps dragged forever because there was a lot of like explanation of like Nick, and there was a lot of like they could have recapped that like they do in movies. You know what I mean? Like it could have been told a totally different way, but because this is a series, they were like, oh, we got to make it count. And also like for those who are not like caught up, like, do you remember this happened? And like, do you remember this happened? Like, oh, remember he was on this planet for this amount of time, and like the blip and whatever. Like there was so much that we needed to be caught up on. And then also his past it was like a whole episode dedicated to his past, and a whole episode dedicated to like what's currently going on and like who's who and like
That's
what's
true. They needed to
Gravik
catch us up because Captain Marvel happened in the 90s.
Yes.
So it needed to be what what were the Skrulls
what were the
doing?
repercussions from that for the Skrulls?
Yeah.
Like, there was so much that needed to be explained, and like, I guess that's what made it adult, like all the dialogue, and it wasn't like playful and joy, and
Well,
like
and
there
the
was
violence. I mean, they were shooting people in the head
for
and
sure,
crap, I
and like
guess.
there was also like not a lot of joking going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like, you can still make something dark and have it labeled like for adults, but still be fun. Like if they would have taken some of like Moon Knight, like some of that darkness and like that like eerie and like ooh, you know, like that could have been driving that feeling of like who can you trust, that like mystery. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, and especially paranoia in the Skrull world.
Yes, like they could have built on that rather than like all of these discussions and like plotting, and they also could have toned back on like Russia specifically. Like,
Yeah.
we get it. There's corruption. I understand. I get it. I really do. But like, it was just it was a lot that I don't think.
Yeah.
I don't think I cared about.
Yeah, and I think that we were meant to side a lot with the Skrull plight. I think, especially in the finale. But there could have been more of kind of under. We saw some refugee camps,
Yeah.
in the beginning.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it was like the fears you had against Skrulls were proven. They were kind of frustrated and angry. And if it's a bit clunky. They're a bit clunky of a metaphor. I think they tried to make it sort of a commentary on immigration and stuff.
For sure.
But
That's
it
what
was
I'm
a
saying,
little
the
clunky.
symbolism was.
And I think it's also very dangerous, the idea that, well, actually they are incredibly dangerous.
Some of them.
Some of them, but ultimately all of them.
Yeah.
Like they all.
The message was like, kill all of them.
Yeah.
Which
but,
I'm
but,
like,
But also,
why?
I mean, don't you think they're all they all have a human who they have kidnapped and stolen the identity of, every single one.
Yeah, I mean,
So even just that makes them kind of
so for me
difficult. Does that make sense? Like,
yeah, but then also you have Skrulls that could be like Gaia, who just looks at someone and takes it over for a little bit.
Yeah.
Like they could be traveling like that versus like, I'm gonna just steal this whole ass person and then like go into their memories and steal that. Like there's different levels of what a Skrull can do. Like,
that's true. If they are dead, that's okay. But even that's a little manipulative.
Of course it is.
Like
of
Priscilla
course, but they're doing it to
and
survive.
Gravik, they're all they're taking the identity of people that have died, but it means they're tricking their family, their friends, to think that they're still
unless they're like
around.
Priscilla and
Yeah.
tell them. Like that's like
it's a tricky.
yeah, it's a whole thing.
But doesn't that sound exciting for a show?
That's what I'm saying. Like this part of it could have been in there.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I guess it is because of Priscilla.
And
but
I think, and we kept thinking during the show, we're like, what's the tool you can use to find, or like, what's the safe word?
Yeah.
Like, how do you get around that? But I don't know. Maybe that just isn't.
I guess
case.
they just needed to hire better writers.
No, Sophia.
I'm just kidding.
I think obviously they were. I mean, these are really talented writers behind Mr. Robot, and they've worked on a bunch of sci-fi stuff.
No,
I think
sure.
the difficulty is the guidelines that they have when it comes to Marvel. Like, you are telling a slice of a much bigger story, and you can't color outside the lines here because you cannot be brushing up against the movie that we were making right now.
Yeah.
Or you can't brush up against the canon or whatever, or this plan that we have. And I think maybe that they should be a little bit more lax with that almost, especially now after Loki and like all the different universes. Like, who cares?
That's what I'm saying.
Just go wild with the Skrull stuff.
Yes.
And you have Samuel L. Jackson. Let him do his thing that he does.
He's gonna look badass either way.
Yeah.
And also, that's who we came here for. We came here for that.
But it's. I wonder if there's going to be. I mean, there's already a slowdown. They're saying they're slowing everything down at Marvel.
Yeah.
Do you think? I don't feel like there's a giant public response to Secret Invasion.
No.
Like a lot of the other stuff.
No. If you look back at the other series, like even Moon Knight, sorry, and like, I mean, again, like WandaVision, but that was perfect. Don't ever say anything about it. And then Loki, like those on social media, I saw everywhere. Like bits and pieces and like memes being made and like so much noise was going on online. And for this, I heard nothing. Absolutely nothing. I didn't see any didn't see any excitement. I just saw like weird reviews, and like it was just an odd.
In my head, I kept thinking
thing.
like, this is the show that ended, or this is the show that killed Talos, who was a really fun Skrull character. It's the last show for Maria Hill, or the last, I guess, appearance of Maria Hill, who's important to Fury's storyline. It's also the creation of Gaia, who is kind of the super important new character. It's like there's a lot of Rhodes is a Skrull. There's a lot of big Agent Ross who was rescued. Then like, there's
how long was Rhodes? a Skrull?
There's all these
how
really
long was he in there?
big reveals, I think, in the show, but it almost felt incredibly random
within this 30 minutes of this episode specifically.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. Like, I don't know what that is. I don't know.
Also, the what is it? The harvest.
The harvest exists.
That's a thing that we know now.
But I think that's like a classic Nick Fury thing, though.
Yeah.
You know, like he always thinks he's better than or at least more important than the Avengers. I will say too, I am really impressed with a lot of what Samuel Jackson is doing with Nick Fury. He's got that monologue in this finale where he talks about the blip and feeling relief, and I'm like, that's pretty dark, and but also the weight on his shoulders is pretty big. Although now that I'm thinking about it, was that Gaia? It was Gaia who said that, right? As Nick Fury, or was that actually Nick Fury?
I think that was actually Nick.
Oh,
Fury.
okay.
I think, I don't know.
Oh boy, but that kind of stuff I really enjoyed in the show, a lot more than I thought I would. And then Olivia Colman. Sonia, I think that's cool. You've got a world where she exists opposite of Julia Louis-Dreyfus as LaFontaine, and I think that's really cool. You've got these really strong team-ups, and honestly, Sonia's going to win because she has Gaia.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm here for that.
Yeah. Well, any final thoughts on Secret Invasion? I know it sounded like we were just yucking on it a little bit.
It did, yeah. I mean, again, I liked this final episode. Yeah. I feel like there's still a lot of potential that they can go towards with the story because of where we ended up. And it was fine. It wasn't all of the excitement that I craved, but like I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to see like a huge fight with Fury or with whoever and like, you know, all that. I wanted it. I think like the last ep that we talked about, I was like really, really excited for what they were gonna do with this because like it had potential, and here we are.
And I think that even though there is kind of a fight in this, like I don't know.
Sure.
Like I think that they were thinking, you know, Gravik killed Gaia's dad, Talos. So she's angry and she wants to take it out on him, and they're both Skrulls, and so I get what they were trying to do, you know, but it is kind of it does feel off from the rest of every show, and then also the idea that like the only way for this villain to face their comeuppance is to be killed by someone more powerful is cool, I guess, but also
was she more powerful? No,
equally powerful. Technically,
equally powerful. She was just smarter.
It's just weird.
Yeah.
It's not always the way the endings have to go, but it's the way this one went.
It's fine.
Yeah, the show about Nick Fury and Skrulls ends with a giant fight between two Super Skrulls
that lasted 5 minutes,
and then it's done. Oh well.
And then he leaves again.
I know.
He leaves our planet again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even after everything.
When do you think we see Gaia? When do you think we see Gaia next?
Oh gosh.
If ever.
Give it a couple years.
Really? You think it's years?
I mean, I think it's maybe a year. Yeah. A year or two.
She's on Earth.
Unless it's going to be like an after credit scene or something.
Yeah, I could see them even doing that in the Marvels movie.
Because something like that.
If we're talking about people that have Captain Marvel specific superpowers,
then she's going to pop up somehow.
Monica Rambeau, Kamala Khan,
Gaia.
And now Gaia. Like she's in that group now.
She has a sprinkle of it.
She's got it. And everyone else's powers. So I wonder when it's time for her.
Is she going to accidentally switch with them in an after credit
it's
scene?
also like Captain Marvel is off planet.
Yes.
Trying to do the thing that
Nick was also trying to do.
Save her. So,
but there's so many universes now, though. So like they could be in different universes.
But I mean, Gaia can.
That's a thing.
I think Gaia can help a lot when it comes to that. So that makes sense for the two of them to meet up.
Wild.
Anyways, we've got Loki coming up at the end of the year. Woo! And then we've got The Marvels, which is a pretty big movie.
Yes.
With a lot of fun stuff that we still haven't even seen yet. But that's coming out later on, too. But we've also got apps that we can talk about when we'll talk about news, and we'll play some fun games and just enjoy ourselves. Just have a good time.
Just living our best life.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Sophia, what do you have to plug?
Just the same old stuff. Thank you so much for listening to our beautiful voices. And if you want to support us even further, you can check everything out at patreon.com/delphinpod. There's some exclusive things there, nice combos. So please feel free. And then also if you want to follow me on any socials, that's also available. It's another option. Everything's going to be at _simply Sophie, SOFIEE.
Yeah, go to patreon.com/DelphinPod. Support all of the pods there. We've got video pods. We talked to Barbieheimer, which is a giant weekend at the movies. And we've got a lot more stuff coming there soon. But thanks so much for listening.
Thank y'all.
We'll be back soon. Bye.
Bye.